Hey, what's up guys? Brandon Hicks here with Blender Unleashed, and today I'm going to be talking about workflows. So I'm coming to you today from the beautiful MediaWorks production studios located in my home city of Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is very beautiful, I might add. And I want to give a big shout out to the owner, Jordan Price. I work very closely with MediaWorks to produce a lot of their 3D and their visual effects for their productions. And he has graciously allowed me to utilize his studio space while I'm getting my home studio in a more organized fashion to do my vlogging. So big shout out to Jordan. Thanks, man, for giving me the chance to use your awesome studio space. So today's video is gonna be a pretty straightforward one. I'm gonna talk about taking a rough idea and the workflow I use for taking that idea and turning it into an idea that is not so rough anymore. And so I have a very specific process I've developed for doing this for my 3D illustration work. And what I wanna do today is take you over to my workstation and give you just a small sample of what I do to go from an idea that just doesn't work yet, doesn't have legs, to an idea that I know when I jump into production, I've solved a lot of the problems already, and now it's just about how do I accomplish that the best way possible with Blender. And so that's what we're gonna focus on today. So without further ado, let's jump over to my workstation where I'm gonna take you behind the scenes and show you the process for developing an idea. Okay, so before we jump in, let me talk a little bit about what's going on. At this point, I'm just looking for a way to kickstart my brain so I can start generating ideas quickly. And the easiest way I found to do this visually is through something called Pinterest. All right, wait a second, stop, Brandon. Pinterest? I thought Pinterest was just for soccer moms and food addicts. And hey, I hear you. And not too long ago, you would have been right. But these days, more and more creatives are flocking to Pinterest to share things like tutorials, reference images, and their portfolios. And if you're still not a believer, let me show you what I've been working on this month. So here we are on the Pinterest board for Blender Unleashed called the cigar ad reference. You can see that I've got about 100 pins. I try to hit 100 typically to give me a starting point for ideas of what I can do visually with the project. And that's usually a good number for me to hit. So I'm gonna start at the bottom because that's the order these were pinned in. And what I did first was just search the word cigar. And so what I was looking for here was texture reference, lighting reference, anything that would give me details about what these cigars look like up close. I know they're made of tobacco leaves, but the tobacco leaves on the outside are different from the filler on the inside. There's a really unique pattern happening that is on the end of the roll here for the cigar. They're created in a very unique way. And then of course, every cigar has a really unique label defining what company it's from and the brand. So I'm looking for all those little details that I forget about or I don't think about in the middle of a project because I'm so busy trying to get the 3D part of it finished and I forget about the stuff that makes it look good. So as we get into more and more of these pins going up, I start looking at how they're used in other ads, and then I'm starting to look at how they're made. So you have pictures here of the people actually cutting the tobacco leaves and rolling them into cigars. And then I started looking at how am I gonna light this in 3D? I'm gonna have to start figuring out how to put this into a space. So what am I gonna pose it with? Is it gonna be cigar paraphernalia? Is it gonna be other cigars, tobacco leaves? And then I start getting into other product ads that are related. And so what's great about Pinterest is it's gonna tell me other things that are related to what I'm currently searching for. So right here, I get a pin, and then down below that, I get other things that are related to this pin in terms of the style and things that other people liked about this particular pin. And so this is great because it leads me into different rabbit holes that I can go down that let me explore ideas. And I don't really have to do a lot of work. I'm just clicking around, having a good time, trying to get reference. And none of this is gonna be used outside of this board. This is just for me. I'm not usually gonna share this with anyone. This is just so I can get an idea of what things look like. So moving on, we get into other areas. And so once I hit lighting, I go, okay, well, product lighting, because if I was gonna actually light a cigar for a poster, for an ad, I would be doing product photography. So you've got food photography over here, and then you've got product lighting for other things over here. Product lighting is a whole different thing in and of itself. It's very complex and there's a lot to learn there. What I was specifically looking for right now were diagrams and setups that would tell me exactly how to light something to achieve a certain effect. And so that led me into more and more about how I was gonna lay this out. That got me thinking about design. And I know that a big part of this is going to be the label and the brand that I try to create for the cigar. And the other part of that is going to be how I put this on the poster and use the space appropriately. So that led me more and more down this path into what I was going to do there, looking at interesting lettering for the cigar label. And that's all things that I'm thinking about right now. I'm thinking about how much time is this going to take me? I know the cigar itself is probably a pretty simple model, but what am I going to put the cigar with? You know, is that going to take extra time? The label design for the cigar layout or the rest of the poster, is that going to take extra time? If it does, how much extra time? And am I going to be spending more time on that than I'm spending on the 3D side of it? All of that stuff adds up to nailing down exactly what specifics are going to be important for this project. So we're at the top of the board now. I get to this point and I start thinking about, okay, well, do I want to do a stylized poster? Do I want to do something vintage? Do I want to do something modern? Is it photorealistic or is it not? And so we get to the point where I'm looking at, you know, some propaganda posters like you would see in World War II, that area, that time period. And I like that style, but it's one of those things where, am I going to spend all this time creating something in 3D only to stylize it into something that looks like I could have hand painted this in, you know, a single afternoon? So that's something you gotta weigh as you get into this, is it easier to just do this in 2D, and am I wasting my time doing this in 3D? If that's the case, then do we really wanna go that direction for this project? And in this case, I got to that point where I was rationalizing this out in my head and I thought, no, I don't. You know, I would rather do something that showcases my 3D capabilities and my photorealism. And so I think I'm gonna head a direction that has a little bit more of the design style that you would see down here and some of these ads and different things, a little bit more photorealistic just to showcase what that looks like. And so again, none of that would have happened if I hadn't started with all the pins down here and just kind of piggybacked off of one pin to the next all the way to the top of this board. And it's really important to push yourself when you're in this design brainstorming phase where you're trying to figure out what you're gonna do and you don't know what the direction is yet, you don't know what you're gonna do, and you haven't landed on that key idea that makes this work. You need to push yourself. And so that's why I have a minimum amount of 100 pins per project. No matter what I'm doing, I don't care if 3 pins in, I feel like I'm finished and I know what I wanna do. I force myself to keep pinning until I'm done with 100, because that means I've totally explored probably most of the ideas that I would be trying to do for this project. And I've exhausted all of my resources in terms of thinking that through to conclusion. So now that I'm done with this phase of the project, I've got my brainstorms out there and I need to look at all these pins, pick a direction, and then start nailing down specifics. So how am I gonna do the cigar in 3D? How am I gonna do the 2D graphics? How am I gonna create the elements that are gonna go together on the page? Which elements need to be created? All those questions have to be answered, but I wouldn't be able to answer those questions unless I went ahead and did this process in the first place. So I hope you guys enjoy this. This is a little bit about my workflow that I use for every single one of my 3D projects. It works for tiny projects all the way up to really large projects. So I would recommend this process for anyone doing 3D illustration, animation, game development, anything you're trying to do where you need to embed a story, embed a sense of purpose into your projects. This will help you get there. So I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you in the next video. And until then, happy blending.